needing to move out, but kids are having hard time with it. Advice. I, 31F, am currently 6 months pregnant and also have 2 daughters, 14 and 8. Some weeks ago, I found out my husband is and continues to cheat on me with 19F. It has truly been weeks of so much turmoil. He is attributing his cheating to not being okay mentally. He has also started to drink much more excessively. Not every day, but when he does, he gets trashed. Also, I can't handle all of the drama I am being sucked into in regard to their relationship. Being accused of going to her house by my husband and her messaging me asking questions. Obviously, he's lied and she started to get suspicious, I'm sure. To me, all of it is childish and I see no point in behaving that way. I honestly don't even blame her. In my mind, she's still a kid and she has a young child too, which I feel like makes her vulnerable. I am trying my best to be okay for me, my unborn babies and daughters. I know now he will never change and want to move to my parents just to get back on my feet and for help when the baby comes. I can't stay because although we've been paying the mortgage / all utilities for years, the home is under my father-in-law's name, and even though technically it has been given to my husband, it is not legally his. Due to this, I feel like he feels entitled to come and go. Even though he said he would move out, he still tries to come and get close to me and doesn't respect any boundaries. I am not gonna lie, sometimes when I am feeling really down, I have a hard time enforcing them too, which is why I just need to go. I've talked to my girls about moving into my parents and they don't want to. My oldest is willing to go but is sad she is losing her room. My youngest is heartbroken and doesn't want to leave her father. I did tell them there are issues between me and her father, but no other details. I can't leave without my daughter. I can't and don't believe he has the capacity to care for her right now. I try to offer my girls as much reassurance as I can that they are not losing their father, that we will eventually have our own place, but they would rather stay. I don't know what to do in this respect and feel like my girls are gonna hate me because they have no clue what's going on. They think I'm the one wanting to split up the family. Update. We have been married for 13 years and together for 17. His family is aware. I reached out to a family member of his because after I found out he still would go out to see her and it was distressing, I thought maybe they could get him to stop just until I was able to leave, but he doesn't care. I finally told him not to come back, but he still does. He won't sleep here at night, but comes and showers, eats, gets ready for work here, tries to get close to me. My parents know, but not everything. I'm honestly ashamed, really hurting, and have a hard time even talking about it. I am seeing a therapist and it has been a huge help. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time and I know now it won't be the last. I've done a lot of work on myself and still have work to do, but I see this for what it is now and will not be guilt into staying any longer. I know me and my babies will be okay. I have a great job. We won't be rich by any means, but I'm also hoping to get my bachelor's in 2 to 3 years, which will help with hopefully landing executive level positions in my field, coupled with the many years of experience I have. I want to say I can count on him on stepping up as a father, but I honestly can't. When the AP reached out, she said she was sorry and that if I wanted to get my family back, she would leave my husband alone. I told her I wasn't getting between them and that I didn't want any of it back. I did tell her our history and that she needed to demand respect from him too. He won't leave me alone and just wants a separation instead of ending it for good, which is what needs to happen in order to start the other relationship. I also told her that it isn't the first time for us and hopefully she can get him to change. I hope that what I shared with her opens her eyes. She asked if we were still together when I called her the first time, and that's when I knew he had been lying to her too. I called her the day I found out because I was in the heat of the moment and wanted to get answers, but I instantly regretted it and I'm glad she didn't pick up. Comment 1. I'm sorry that you are going through this, especially when you're pregnant. Have you told both your families about what's going on with your husband? Do you think your FIL will take his son's side and kick you out instead of him? I would honestly just tell your kids that their father has done things in your relationship and continues to do that behavior, and that means that you cannot stay together at this time. I think just reassure them that this has nothing to do with them and is a failure in your marriage and not them. Do you think the 19-year-old has been lied to about the status of your relationship? I can only assume that he's been telling her that you are already separated, divorced, or even saying that you're pregnant with someone else's baby. I would just tell her the truth because at 19-year-old with a child of her own, she seems like she would be vulnerable to manipulation from an older man with a daughter only 5 years younger than this girl. If she lives with her family still, then I would inform them what kind of man your husband is so they can protect their daughter and grandchild. Get out and get yourself set up at your parents' so you can start rebuilding your life. Make sure that you put your husband on child support so your children have the financial support that they need. Comment 2. I am pretty positive the 19-year-old has been lied to because from her text she asked if we were still together when I reached out to her the first time and I told her yes. It was the day I found out. I honestly don't know where she lives and if she lives with her family. I opened up to her about his previous infidelity too, so I hope that she sees him for who he is, but I feel like she has to make that realization on her own. I don't think my FIL would kick me out, but I do feel like they are attributing his behavior to his mental health. One thing I forgot to note too is that my in-laws have always lived with us short periods of time in the year when they come back to visit from their home country. I feel like living with them, which will be soon, will be difficult because I know they don't want us to get divorced. They don't see the whole thing for what it is. Comment 3. You need to set things in motion with your parents regarding moving in with them temporarily. Once that has been done, you need to retain the services of a good divorce attorney and have all the details of your current family's financials and joint possessions with you when the appointment with the attorney takes place. The attorney, after going through the financials, will be able to paint a picture of what a divorce will look like for you, and with that knowledge, you can make your final decision on whether or not to proceed with the divorce petition. If you decide to proceed, the attorney will tell you when the petition is ready for you to sign. When again at the attorney's office, sign the petition and discuss with your attorney where and when to have your STBXH served with divorce papers. I suggest having him served at his place of employment at around 2 to 3 o'clock p.m. You can expect him to call you or blow up your phone with texts, so my recommendation is that your phone be turned off or set to airplane mode before STBXH is served, so you won't have to listen to any of his angry statements or pleadings not to go through with the divorce. You should unblock your phone long enough to send him a text that tells to only contact you through your attorney until the first pleadings are heard in family court, where his visitation rights and child support will be put in place by the family court judge. Once that has been done, then tell him he can only contact you about issues having to do with the children, but nothing to do with the divorce. That's how to handle things going forward. I wish you well. Story 2. How do you people get up the courage to divorce? Advice. Long story short, I 32M was cheated on by my wife 34F, no kids, married 8 years. I was on a 6-month deployment. Got back, didn't notice a thing, but that sex was amazing, frequent, and new things were being tried. Obviously, I, being an idiot, just thought that she missed me and I was on cloud 9. Fast forward a few weeks, she does the typical out and about act while I'm on duty every few days. Shopping out with girls, whatever. Long story short, I started tracking my car with the unlocking app after she wouldn't answer FaceTime calls but would call back a few minutes later, etc. Saw her parked somewhere forever while not answering me. I pull up, she's in a guy's car right next to ours late at night. She didn't think that I could leave overnight duty to check, but I'm a top performing officer and my section leader is the GOAT. Obviously just told him she was sick. Anyways, I tell the guy to fuck off, get her in our Jeep, grill her. They've been hanging out for months. They kissed in my Jeep once. They never had sex, right? It's funny how you remember the little things. When I first got home from deployment, she put her hand around my D****** like she was sizing it up, and I asked what she was doing and she said she just missed it. Now I think it was comparing. Also, the new positions we did at her idea became very clear. I was all about it at the time and didn't think about it. She still staunchly denied it. Anyways, we get back to the house. I stay calm and grill her. She says loves me but not in love with me. She feels lost. She isn't meeting her life goals. I am consumed with work, not by choice, military, and don't put in enough effort. I'm the only cook. I do all cleaning. She only does her own laundry. House was destroyed when I got home, never made an issue out of it. So at this point I tell her I want a divorce very calmly and try to leave. She blocks the door, tries to have sex with me, tells me to get angry. I say deep down I want to beat the ever-living F*** out of him, but that I am a sane adult and will not be doing that nor punching a wall, and that I also will not be having sex with her. She talks me down from leaving, promises not to see him, and I leave back to work. Few arguments later of me asking for info and her basically saying to move past it and us back on kissing, and a few times having basic mess sex terms I have been putting in a lot of effort, never bringing it up again, etc. She is still going out, but if she is better at cover stories or what, but I can kind of tell if she's with the girls she sends pics. If she's allegedly with the girls she doesn't. I'm 99% sure they are still seeing each other, but that 1% right. Anyways, things at home are stable. She is trying showing affection, saying I love you, but the lack of transparency is crushing. I'm acting out the motions and trying so hard but feel gutted. Now to the crux, I love her, I do. We did 4 years stationed overseas together and it was the time of my life. She was my best friend and most trusted human. If I can do this, I don't want to do this, but I hate feeling like worthless garbage. Things are seemingly better too. We were planning to have kids when I got home. I can't date again, other girls look meh, I can't even imagine it. I'm weak, I get it. Is there anything I can do to fix this? I desperately want to stay. Edit. I took this guy's number from her phone that night and actually called him, and he denied everything, said they were just friends. The next day he sent me a FB post saying that yes, he did kiss her and tried to sleep with her many times, but that she said no, she wouldn't hurt me that way while we were still together. Even if true, what else? That doesn't qualify as penetrative sex they did. He also apologized a ton, but I think he was scared for his own relationship and me finding where he works on base. Which I still might do if shit blows up. A few HR later he deleted the message. I showed her it right away. Should have screenshotted it or not showed her. See the mind mess this is. He blocked me on everything after that. Edit 2. Lol, yeah, same thing, I'm on overnight duty right now. She has been out 5 hours, I texted no response, so I FaceTimed her. 10 minutes later she FaceTimes back from our Jeep, face all red hair, askew like she was running to the Jeep. Said she was FaceTiming her sister and rushed me off the phone by saying she was about to drive home and would FaceTime me before she showers, and that she was going to transfer money to my card for stuff she bought. Outfit for her nephew and new bras and panties, man, facepalming. She didn't want to FaceTime me while driving home, and I said she could just talk, but she was like, I don't want to be distracted driving, which has never been a thing for her. So I let her off the phone. 25 minutes later the car is still parked in the same spot. I'm over it. She looked drop-dead gorgeous in her outfit and was all I love you kissy face loving looks on the phone, but it sure as hell wasn't for me. I'm gonna play along while I order these divorce papers. I'm over it, that was the last straw. Edit 3. Made a new FB. Looked at his profile picture since I'm not blocked on it. Found his girl's account and friend requested her. Hopefully he doesn't have access to her account and intercept before I can message her. If he does, I will use the burner account to message her. Story 3. During a job requiring me out of state for 2 years, a few observations I made when I would come home gave me reason to dig deeper. The suspicion created a monster I haven't tamed yet. Suspicion. My wife stayed at home taking care of the kids while I held the fort down financially. I traveled a lot for work, and during a 2-year job out of state, I noticed some things that never occurred in the past. The kids kept her busy full-time with sports and school activities, and our youngest started attending kindergarten a few months after I started the 2-year project. I would come home for a week every month and see the family and start the cycle over again. Intimacy was never an issue whether I was away or home. Phone/video calls almost daily when I was gone. Several rounds each day when I was home. The only odd observance regarding intimacy was I noticed she wouldn't climax as fast or as numerous each time as I was used to. One time after a session I caught her using a vibrator when I went back into the room, which she replied I needed one more. Reflecting back, once I went into detective mode, I vaguely recall the start of a kiss seeming weird one time. All in all, none of this really caught my attention until I reflected back on that time period. The item that caught my eye was almost every time I arrived home that the bedding was in the wash and freshly changed, or the bed was stripped and needed bedding. I didn't really notice at first, but can remember this was done every time. Obviously she always washed and changed the bedding fairly frequent as needed. It was the fact it was always the day of my arrival that this was taking place. This just seemed odd after 15 years, and now there's a schedule. This habit of changing the bedding on my arrival seemed like a phase that lasted for maybe a year or so, then more sporadic. I went full detective mode and have kept my mouth zipped. I downloaded her Google Maps JSON history file from our computer and scoured through it. The only questionable event on the history placed her phone at the little motel in town for 10 minutes, which has a burger/ice cream shop right next door. It was on a day that we had traveled home from spring vacation and I had continued on to my project before noon. The youngest had been with me in my truck sick with the flu, and I remember telling her some ice cream would soothe him a little after being confined in a booster seat for 4 hours. I never questioned at that time if she did get some or not. Reading the JSON files for accuracy, it's not accurate enough to pinpoint with our level of coverage here. Within 100 feet would be acceptable to assume, and combined with utilizing Wi-Fi networks that Google uses the phone to record leaves lots of doubt. When at the ice cream shop, my phone tried connecting to the motel's Wi-Fi. Never picked up on any behavior changes or other red flags consistently that I learned through digging into the web. Fast forward, projects over and I am home now. While attending a school function, an individual came up to her and greeted her that I didn't recognize immediately. When he greeted her, he touched her elbow and her reaction was a quick acknowledgement, and away he went. Her body language caught my attention that she was uneasy and caught off guard by this. I have 2 deaf siblings. I should be working for the FBI when it comes to reading people. I say nothing and finally recognize him as the football coach for my middle son. This one isolated event added to the monster that I had been trying to tame. The football coach's wife is the volleyball coach who my daughter played under. I know my wife and her would visit often, and I'm sure the husband was around for some of these chit-chats, so him saying hello isn't unusual. I never did find any concrete anything. I never went through her phone, but I remember using it frequently when my phone would die, and she never hid her phone or acted funny with it. These items I pinpointed that caught my attention spiraled into my investigation, and I'm still not vested enough with facts to lean towards a solid conclusion. We are at a point in our relationship that we need to do some work on ourselves for us to continue. At some point, I still want to address what I documented and read her reaction and go from there with the other things we need to address. Sometimes this monster will consume me and my thoughts. I do my best to not dwell on this. Regardless, it's not leaving my mind and needs addressed somehow at the right time. Thanks for taking the time to read this, and thank you for any words of wisdom.